ethos and the Marine Corps culture. We always take care of our own. We never leave someone behind. The Raiders went before us, so we're not going to leave them behind. And their memory will definitely live on much longer than they will.
Hey, get off the damn net. Comanche 1, it's a 6. Yeah. LT! Comanche 1, 6. Hey, Comanche 1! Pick up your damn radio! Catch up, let's go!
This is our training facility out here for units to come to before they deploy out to Iraq.
Stay in condition 1, stay in place!
And to immerse them into what they're going to be fighting against over there. We try to make it realistic for them here before they go over. That way they get a taste of it. They can learn from their mistakes here.
Back down! Get out!
The Marine Corps Combat Center occupies nearly 1,000 acres in the Mojave Desert, making it the largest Marine Corps base in the world. Each year, roughly 1/3 of all Marines come here for training to increase their combat readiness.
Hey, you're in the open. Why are you walking?
This is where Marines take part in live fire combined arms training.
How do you think your range went today? What does he need to be doing? He needs to be looking down the range to see where his rounds are impacting, right? The purpose of it is to get the infantry guys used to calling in their fires and moving under those fires with the fires going down the range. A couple times today it was not happening. If you look down the range, you see trenches 1 and 2, the 2 objectives on the western side. And off to the east, they got what we call the center objective. And they got the company maneuvering down the range, medium machine guns. They got 81mm mortars. They got heavy guns supporting their attack. Just kind of like their last stop shop. Every unit before they deploy, they come out here and get the training. Even if you do not have ammo left, deceive the enemy, make him think that you've got ammo left.
This is money right here for the Marine Corps.
Pop open the lid.
It's actually putting into play a lot of the things that are going on in Iraq right now, and this is real good training that's going to help all the Marines, and it's going to bring more of them back.
All right, that's all I got for you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Go.
Marines also get training at 29 Palms in urban warfare.
This is Range 200, also known as Wadi al-Sahara.
The Marine Corps has reproduced an Iraqi village in the California desert.
We try to put as much realism as we can into it. You'll see burned out vehicles, concertina wire, rubble all over the place.
A unit training at 29 Palms will likely deploy to combat within months or even weeks. A unit training here is typically a mix of Marines on their first combat assignment and combat veterans.
I mean, you can tell them all the stories, but just being there is going to be a totally different experience and something you'd have to experience for yourself to know what it's like.
Come in. Right. All right. That gives you 2 things.
We got a lot of new Marines that just came to us, so I want to make sure they get the best possible training before we do head back.
Don't give them a chance, gents. Come on.
To make the training realistic, role players are used in the exercise. Some play friendly villagers. Others play insurgents.
It's not a regular war that we're fighting. You don't know who the enemy is, and you don't want to stereotype people just because of who they are. So it does make it a lot more difficult.
This is what the apology you're gonna do me, because you guys destroyed the whole country. Now you destroyed my house.
Let them know our chain of command will pay for anything broken in this house.
There's a lot of situations that come up where you're not going to be able to engage, and you don't want to engage because we don't want to harm innocent people. And what we're focusing on here is the skills that the Marines need to be effective on the urban battlefield.
Urban combat is not new for the Marine Corps.
Urban warfare, in my judgment, is the dirtiest of all warfare. I was a company commander, as an example, in the Battle of Way City in Tet of 1968 during the Vietnam War. It's dirty because it's all very close and personal. It's not just the environment, which is closed in, great noise, dirt, debris, shrapnel, etc. But it's also a very close personal contact with the enemy. And then the carnage that's there. Urban warfare is difficult.
It is a grisly business. I think especially of the two battles of Fallujah in 2004. First Fallujah was a tough fight. Second Fallujah in November 2004 was probably the toughest combat that U.S. forces have seen since the Vietnam War, almost certainly the toughest combat since things like Way City in the Vietnam War. It was really ugly. It was brutal. It was nasty. It was the essence of the grittiness of war.
The battlefield is emptying out. Rather than a constricted battlefield with large numbers of troops inside of it, which is the essence of mass infantry warfare, we now have a battlefield dispersed over deserts, third world slum cities, and jungles, where there are very few combatants inside it, and it's small numbers of men hunting down other small numbers of men.
We no longer have an enemy that wears uniforms. We don't have an enemy that has a state capital. We don't even have an enemy that has a state. That makes it very difficult to determine who the enemy is sometimes.
Stop right here.
Right now, young Marines have to deal with insurgents who are essentially doing warfare without any rules at all. And that young Marine has to deal with an insurgent on the street, and at the same time, he's going to have to deal with somebody's grandmother on the other side of the street.
Do you want someone to look at this?
Yes, yes.
It's much more demanding, I would say, on the battlefield today. It takes a much more intelligent, sophisticated individual to be successful on the battlefield today.
We must go!
The Marine Corps pushes battlefield authority down to the lowest levels. More than other services, the Marine Corps places a premium on decentralized decision-making. Nearly half of all Marines are in the 3 lowest ranks.
I think we've always done that in the Marine Corps. We call it the strategic corporal. You have to push down the leadership to the lowest level. We stress leadership. We teach them leadership. We show them leadership. We show them what it's like to be a leader. And then really you give them some guidance and you turn them loose. And it works for us.
Marines today, even down at the lance corporal level, are making decisions that affect the nation when they're out there guarding a street corner in Baghdad or delivering supplies to humanitarian relief in the Philippines. Their actions will have a huge impact on the way America is perceived around the world.
The Marine Corps has a generally positive image and reputation, both in this country and around the world. Marines are fond of one of their own general's description, that there is no better friend, no worse enemy than a United States Marine. But on occasion, the image has been tarnished, often because of the Marines' aggressive tradition and tactics. Marines bring their own warrior ethos of uncompromising toughness to the battlefield, often producing brutal confrontations and severe results.
You're asking people for a level of perfection inside a maelstrom of confusion that has to be experienced to be believed. The Marines do a great job, but they need to be better at it even. 99% is not good enough.
Marine Corps is saying, you know, you have an ideal. There is a code and a level of potential that all Marines should be striving for. By far, most of them don't get to the ideal, but they get closer to their potential, I think, than most people would give them credit for.
Order is about monopolizing the use of force. You can't have freedom, democracy, etc. until somebody monopolizes the use of force and stems a region from anarchy. And for that, you're going to need people like United States Marines who do have a very strong moral sensibility as they use force.
It very much comes down to the training. And the more you train and the more you view it as a professional army that's not about just killing the enemy out of vengeance, the better you are at having an organized troop that's responsible, accountable, and that carries out the mission with just conduct.
So you have to have discipline. You have to have a young Marine that understands right and wrong, that understands that killing isn't natural. The fact that we have a code of conduct, a Western ethic that says, quite frankly, don't kill nothing that don't need killing. Marines understand that what they do is a brutal business, but they never lose their humanity.
There's a lot of extraordinary circumstances being thrown at them, and they're adapting. World War II was the greatest generation, but they were ordinary men in extraordinary times that rose up to meet the challenge. And that's what the young Marines are facing today. They're being put in extraordinary times, and the best of them is coming out and rising to the top. They're making those decisions, and a lot of them are making the right decision at the right time.
Yes, sir. Before it comes to anything physical, it's all got to be mental, right?
Yes, sir. One of the things they teach you in boot camp is do the right thing even when nobody's looking.
Yes, sir.
And it's a very good cast of mind to have. It's very good training. And so it tells the corporal in the street corner, even if you think you could be abusive, even if you think nobody's looking, don't. Do the right thing.
We start by really focusing on our traditions, and that's a tradition of success. And that builds on a tradition that goes all the way back to the founding of this nation. And that does, in fact, give you some strength on the battlefield. You don't want to embarrass the institution, and you certainly don't want to let down your fellow Marines.
Move, move, move. Hey, keep in mind, Marines.
It's a close-knit relationship that you have on a battlefield, and your life may very well depend on the guy that's standing to your left and right. And it's very important that you have that bond with them. And that allows us to be very, very successful in some very, very difficult situations.
I don't think any media can truly capture the impact and experience of war, of combat, close combat, where you can see the enemy and you can see where your bullets are striking the enemy, and you can see your men falling either side of you. I don't think you can sense or convey the smells, the sickly sweet smell of decomposing flesh of somebody who's buried under a pile of rubble or a bomb crater. I don't think you can deal or convey the misery of people caught in this mess.
War is nasty. Seeing young men and women blown away is nasty. If we never had to go to war, boy, wouldn't it be wonderful? And wouldn't we have, served our purpose as, as warriors in waiting, but didn't have to go? But the fact is, it's not the way the world is.
Anyone who's been on the battlefield does not want to go to war. It's not glamorous at all. It's very dangerous. It's very difficult. It's very dirty. It's not a good place to be.
There was absolutely no glamour of any sort in combat. None. No, I can't see anything glamorous or anything that would make anyone want to engage in combat. It's sheer hell on earth. We never train our people that they're going to enjoy combat or that it's glamorous.
So much of the Marine Corps training doesn't necessarily play well in the public eye because people don't really like to know what the Marine Corps is training to do, what the Marine Corps' job is.
We do teach them to quickly locate, close with, and destroy the enemy.
The Marine generals are the only generals who actually talk about killing. They will say, this organization is about killing. That's what we do.
Here's the dilemma. A liberal society still needs to be defended, and it needs to be defended violently at times. And the people who are going to do this have to like what they do, or else they're not going to be very good at it.